I'm Mel Stewart, and this is a GMM Podcast. Joining me today, we have the godfather of club swimming. We have a man who is respected, revered from the highest echelons of USA Swimming down to every single pool deck in the nation. He is a man who has developed countless Olympians and national champions. He's been a mentor to many coaches, a mentor to coaches who have gone on and created massive club teams, super teams. He is the entrepreneur among entrepreneurs. In club swimming today, we have founder and CEO of SwimAtlanta, Chris Davis. How you doing, buddy?
Mel, I'm doing great. And with that intro, I'm giving myself a raise.
You should give yourself a raise. No, I'm going to call you out right now. I said, are there any no-go questions? You go, don't ask me how much I make. And I'm like, this killed my podcast. That's what everybody's tuning in. They want to know how much money you're making, Chris.
You know, I've always thought for everything, it's always best left to the imagination.
Understood.
So,
Understood. It is.
I'll just let everybody keep imagining.
Well, let's add some context to this. Sometimes position in the marketplace is earned, and you have certainly earned it. So let's do your origin story. Give me some context around 1978. I don't know if this is myth or legend. 1978, you launch your team and you have less than 30 swimmers, 28 swimmers. Tell me, how did that?
We actually launched in 77.
Well, there you go, 77. Tell me your origin story.
All right. So we thought we were going to have an indoor facility built to be able to start our program in a certain area. That did not work out. So we ended up renting an outdoor pool, sticking a heater in it. And we ended up with 25 kids. Coldest winter in history. And we were outdoors the whole winter. We didn't lose one kid. And I'll tell you how dumb we were back then. We offered for the senior level kids, which was only about 8 or 10 of them, we offered 14 workouts a week. And that was 4:30 to 6:30 a.m. Monday through Saturday. And you had to make 12 to stay on the group. And we didn't lose a kid.
Chris, that's a value proposition that I think all teenagers would want to have. The opportunity to swim 14 times a week, minimum 12. This is definitely a late 70s, 80s mindset in swimming. For any young swimmers out there or young coaches out there, could you explain the work ethic from the 70s and 80s?
Unbelievable. The mentality, I think, for everybody back then was more is better. If 2 aspirins cures a headache, 100 aspirins will help you set a world record. I've got kids. We have a top 10 all-time list at SwimAtlanta for every age group, every event. I have kids on my top 10 senior level that goes all the way back to 81, and they're still on there. No suit, just straight hard training. I'm not sure today that I would have one kid that could do it, would do it, and more importantly, I don't think their parents would let them do it.
Coach, do you think that we've lost something as a sport because of that grind mentality?
You know, I tell everybody I'm a recovering Catholic and that we were put here on earth to work and suffer in silence. So my mentality is you have to work hard for what you get. You appreciate it more when you work hard and you push yourself through pain barriers. I think kids today have a very hard time doing that. Why? I'm not 100% sure, but they're more interested in telling you how they feel. And they have to feel good all the time rather than it's okay to feel bad as long as I'm giving effort. So that's why I say I don't know if I would have a swimmer today that if I said, hey, if we go 12 workouts a week, 4:30 to 6:30 a.m., we're going upwards to 16,000 yards or meters a day. If you do that, you'll absolutely set a world record. I don't know that I'd have anybody take me up on it, at least a group that I have.
It's definitely a big change. There's some coaches that are still doing this. They're rare. I don't want to get too far off of our topic today and the reason why we brought you in, although I would love to do a deep dive on the old school days, because I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and that's certainly how we trained. We did a lot of work. You wrote an editorial that we ran in Swam, and that came out a few weeks ago. And I really wanted to come back to you and follow up on that. Editorial was titled "Why AAU Works for SwimAtlanta and Why It Can Work for Your Club Too." I thought it was the most effective editorial I've ever seen in terms of just a clear messaging, talking to any of your coaching peers. This is, if I talk to anyone about you, they say, you know what, Chris Davis has kind of been on the AAU train for a while. This makes sense for him. But it seems like you were the first starter. It worked for you. What brought you back to AAU?
Actually, I did the risk management insurance probably 10, 12 years ago. We've only done AAU for the last 2 years. The risk, I tell everyone, look and see how many of your swimmers actually go to attend swim meets. If they're not attending meets, you don't need USA Swimming insurance at $78, $80, $85 for the year. It's a waste of money. All insurance companies require that you have one overriding umbrella insurance company, and then you can go with a second one for either AAU kids or USA Swimming kids or whatever. So I did risk management at $6, $7, $8 a kid for years. And then the kids that would go to USA Swimming meet, those were the ones we just registered for USA Swimming. I would venture a guess in today's market, on average, on an average team, 250 and up, close to 50% of your kids never go to a meet. So the last 2 years, we decided to try AAU to do some fun meets and try to entice kids to do meets, and then hopefully graduate them from the AAU level on up to the USA Swimming level. And that's worked really well. We've had a lot of kids really like the short, quick, fast AAU meet. The parents love it. Doesn't ruin the whole weekend for them. They're committing 2 or 3 hours to the meet. They get to watch their kid go up and down the pool a little bit. Not as expensive, because you don't end up having to pay the LSC any money. And again, for me, the operative part is you're not monopolizing that family's time for a whole weekend. And so we had a Father's Day one that we just did recently, and we ended up renting out the water park part of the facility. Everybody stayed around for an hour. We had a DJ, we had food. Everybody stayed around, and after the meet, had a great time. And that was all under the AAU umbrella. So in an AAU, I can get a sanction in an hour. I could, if I didn't want to have a true meet referee and swim and turn guys, I could get a senior in high school to do it. And it's okay, sanctioned meet, and he's under the umbrella of the insurance for the meet. So it just makes a whole lot of sense. It's almost summer league-ish, but at a higher level. And they're certainly learning, the two-hand touch, the underwater pullouts, all the stuff they need to do if they continue to go into the sport.
I asked you about this a long time ago. I think a lot of anybody in swimming who knows anything, if they're an Olympian or if they're in the swim industry, I have a sneaking suspicion they might ring your phone and say, "Hey, what do you think about this, Chris? Because you have a 60,000 foot view of our sport." I called and asked you about this, and then I called up my one of my age group coaches and said, "Hey, how long did I swim AAU?" And they said, "Oh, you swam AAU until you were almost 15. You didn't swim USA Swimming unless you were going to a regional, now a sectional, or junior nationals. You were always AAU." So it took me a while to kind of process it and understand it. Then when I got into the finances of it, I was shocked by some of the things that you shared with me. But it's more than money. You also mentioned that we have like a bureaucratic layers and a quagmire. If you're trying to register a meet through an LSC, how long does it take you compared to AAU?
Probably anywhere from 10 days to 2 weeks, depending on all the different people the senior committee's got to look at it, which is ridiculous. And then everybody wants their piece of the pie. It seems like everything today is so complicated, and the more you can simplify it, the better people are going to like it.
Is there an argument that you could make, if we play devil's advocate, that the LSCs are, meaningful because they're sitting on a store of cash that's separate from USA Swimming and that supports clubs in that local swim committee?
No, I don't think the LSCs are, other than if you had an officials committee so that you still could have enough officials to run a USA Swimming meet. So you had the meet referee, swim and turn, start and turn, and a starter. As long as you got those guys, I don't know why you really need the LSC. I don't know really what they're doing for you. A lot like USA Swimming. I don't really know what USA Swimming does for the normal SwimAtlanta or MSA or Nashville Aquatic Club. I think if you were to poll most of those coaches, they would say two things. They would say, I haven't heard from those guys at all. They do zero for me. One, and two, I'd pay them money to stay away from me. Just let me run my business, let me run my team, and don't interfere with me. I don't think we learn anything from those guys. I don't think they look at us as the grassroots. I don't think they look at us as customers. I think they look at us as members, and they're there to implement rules and then to enforce those rules. Make sure whatever rules those are, those things are enforced.
I don't know how to frame this question, but I'm going to attempt to frame this question.
Okay.
It's I think that in an ideal world, we would want USA Swimming to treat the clubs as customers, service them so that they can grow the sport, have everything that they need to grow the sport, and do that rapidly with as little bureaucratic layers as possible. And I think the experience is that they're a governing body and their intention is to govern you. I don't know if anyone has ever said that quiet part out loud to you. Let's just say, when did you come to that conclusion on your own?
Oh my gosh, I would think 10, 15 years ago, probably when I started doing risk management and not, I'm a team guy. I'm a team player. I want things to be successful. SwimAtlanta is probably not here without at least the governing body of USA Swimming. So I appreciate them. I don't really appreciate what they've turned into, which seems like our government, just a bureaucratic mess of a ton of employees that you really wonder what they do on a daily basis. I'm not up there running it. I don't know the intricacies of it. I know I've been on several committees and I got off those committees because in the meetings, all we did is go round and round and round and round every single meeting and the same stuff. And nothing ever got finished, controlled. Everybody's got their own ideas, this. It was a waste of time. I don't have that kind of time running a team with 7 locations and 1,800 kids and a huge lesson program. I just can't waste my time that way.
I had something I should have rolled in here earlier for context. 1,800 swimmers plus 50% USA Swimming, 50% AAU or risk management. Right now, you're registering them at AAU. Is that correct? Your bottom 50%.
100% everybody is registered AAU, and then 50% is registered USA Swimming.
So they're registered both. So
But remember, I told you that in order for them to swim in the same pool without separation of lanes or times, you have to have one umbrella insurance company that does 100% of everybody.
Okay.
And so either that's risk management, AAU, or somebody else.
You're talking about this feeling that you had going back 10, 15 years. 10, 15 years ago, the governing body of USA Swimming was in a growth phase. We were still in the era of Michael Phelps. Did that have any bearing in the Atlanta market? Were you benefiting? Were you rolling up summers because we had the biggest star in the world and the governing body?
Gosh, absolutely. I don't even know that he knows how much he impacted the sport, especially with boys. I think them being able to look on ESPN and see Michael Phelps' name come across the ticker there, it made it vogue to be a male athlete and be a swimmer. That was cool. Our numbers, I don't know exactly. I would say he was probably responsible for 15 to 20% bump in the sport.
More over his entire era for sure. It has to be.
Oh yeah, year over year is what I'm saying. Oh my gosh, yes.
It's
now we don't have a hero like Michael Phelps.
Yeah, the biggest, just for the record, the biggest bump was not after 2008 to 2009. It was after 2012. It's almost like the sequel to a huge movie, the biggest movie box office in the world in 2008 with the 8 gold medals. But we got the bump as everyone knew him. And then we got it in 12 and 13. It was 11.9%. And that was in 1 year. And for anyone keeping score, in 2023, United States Swimming was down in the registration 4.6%. And in 2024, we were up 481, which is what we consider flat. It's flat. There's really no growth.
Yeah, and they're not addressing that. They haven't come to me and said, "Oh my God, Chris, what can we do to help SwimAtlanta get more kids in sport?"
Just to put a spotlight on that. No one from United States Swimming has engaged you and said, "Okay, this is a huge market. You have 1,800 swimmers. You have a year-over-year experience going back to 1978 in signing up swimmers. What could we do differently, or how could we support you in growing, the swimming market here?" That's never happened.
Never. No, and the reason is they have no clue. They haven't been out working in it there you go, "How could we help you? This is what I need." "Oh, yeah, we don't have any of that. What are you talking about?" Years ago, I was at a meet and a coach came up to me, a USA Swimming official that works up at Colorado Springs. I'm going to make them nameless, but they were in charge of club excellence at the time. This is 15, 20 years ago. And the coach said, "Man, I'm really struggling. I can't get my numbers up. Do you have any idea, does Club Excellence have anything that they can give to us that we'll do, and we're willing to do anything to work to get our numbers up?" And that person said, "No, really don't have any idea." So I stepped in. I said, "Hey, let's go to hospitality. I'm going to give you about 12 things that we do that have really helped keep our numbers where they are." And he sat down, wrote it all down, said, "Oh my God, this is awesome. I never would have thought of this stuff." So USA Swimming ought to be calling me. They ought to be calling MSA. They ought to be calling Nitro. They ought to be calling Metroplex. They ought to be calling Dynamo Swim Club. They'll Swim Mac. They ought to be calling all the clubs and go, "Guys, what do you do to try to keep your numbers up every year?" I'll tell you a quick story. If you don't work on it every summer, your numbers will go down. If you're not out there hustling, doing clinics, visiting summer league meets, doing mailings, going to their summer league championship meets, if you're not out there hustling that, your numbers will go down. And here's how I learned that the hard way. When Doug Jerson, a SwimAtlanta product, made the Olympic team in 1988, I went, "Phew, we have arrived. You are not going to see Chris Davis out recruiting at summer league meets till 9:30 at 10 when I've been at work since 6 in the morning. You are not going to see Chris Davis going out and doing clinics at summer league pools to try to get known in the area and to really let parents understand what real coaching is. You're not going to see Chris Davis go to the summer league championship meets. I don't need to. I can sit back, stick my feet up, and they're going to call me." Our worst numbers ever And the way I realized that, I had a parent call in about their child maybe joining SwimAtlanta. And of course, I'm sticking my chest out saying, well, we just had a kid make the Olympic team. And the father said, oh, that's great. But I really need to talk to you about my child. So I learned then people don't, it's great you had somebody make the Olympic team. They want to know what you're going to do for their child. So if you sit and if you talk to any of the coaches I just mentioned, their clubs, they'll tell you, oh my God, yes, our numbers will go down if we don't go out and hustle.
I've always felt that at the governing body level, and this is a check, and I call you to ask you these questions and say, hey, am I right or am I wrong? What's really going on here because of your decades of experience? But my personal feeling is that at the governing body level, we should pretend as we just rip away the Olympic apparatus and just focused on the business of swimming and making that great. And because if we did that, by the time an Olympics rolls around, that's just a value add. And we're going to be ready anyway, because we will have a bigger base of swimmers. But I always felt because we've worked through the lens of the Olympics and worked through the lens of everything is leveraged to just this one moment, we've cut ourselves off at the knees in many ways. And that's a hard conclusion to come to. I didn't come to that conclusion, but just in the last few years, because that defines my identity. Is that a correct statement?
Well, you could look at the baseball level. For the teams that don't have a great minor league system, how well do they end up doing ultimately? They don't. The guys that, just trade away all their minor league players to get the one or two or three or four great players, they might be okay that season. 2-3 seasons down the road, they got nothing. I agree 100% with you. It's all about the grassroots. USA Swimming, I don't think they get it. They think it's about world records, medals won. I don't disagree with that. That's certainly part of it. But you're 100% right. If I've got 3 out of 100,000 people, that's why our men got better, was because of Phelps. We finally started getting some athletes that were 6'4", 5', 6'7", that wanted to be a swimmer because it was cool. Before that, we got none of them. So in my opinion, and obviously all of this is my opinion, I think you're dead on.
So as we're talking right now, I could do the math. I think we're 322 days since Tim Henchey was removed as the chief executive officer at USA Swimming, and the board is still searching for a new chief executive. That chief executive, we're now in our third round. I think I have not confirmed this, and we have to reach out and ask USA Swimming based on past history and our searches and fees. I think that we're above $500,000 in fees just searching for talent. You could be wrong, but I'll try to find that out. I want to know, as someone who's seen the transition from Ray Essick, our first executive director, to Chuck Wilgus, to Tim Henchey, how do you feel about this process so far?
Here's how I think about it. If it were their dollar, board of directors or whoever's calling the shots, if that 500,000, if you're correct on that money, if it's $1 million, if it's 250,000, if it's 750,000, if that's coming out of their individual pocket, you don't see the money wasted that way. My opinion. I think it's my opinion. It's asinine. It's ridiculous. There's enough good people out there that you could find somebody without spending that kind of money. I don't, they're not $1 billion company. What is USA Swimming, a $30 million company?
The USA Swimming, and just so everybody out there knows, that's a great question. Post-Olympic year, somewhere between 29 and 32 million, depending on the quad, and upwards of 40 to 44 million in an Olympic year, because they get the massive rush of.
Yeah, but all right, on the net side, but I know they're in profit, so they're not really looking at net. But how can you justify, if you're correct, and I've heard some of those figures also, how can they justify that kind of expenditure? They are the caretakers of our money, just like the LSC is. They should not be spending that money that way when there are clubs out there that could, hey, do a matching fund. I'm going to build a 50-meter pool. Okay, if you raise 1.5 million, we'll give you 1.5 million. The demographics are such that it'll work. It's a young area. Whatever. Money a lot better spent than giving it to a headhunter. Go build another pool. It's so ridiculous. It's baffling.
You're not going to go anywhere. You've built your life around this sport. You've built great businesses around this sport, from, pool management to Learn to Swim to being, an 1,800 member club. You're always going to serve the sport, and they know that. There's a whole lot you can do about it. You can do the obvious, which is sign up, and register your kid's AAU, but I don't see any motivation for the governing body to change. It's challenging to create that scenario.
Part of the second part of the article that I wrote was that my second motivation, and I believe this completely, that if you want to get somebody's attention, you get it through the pocketbook. If AAU could take enough USA Swimming members, especially the kids that aren't really swimming, USA Swimming, they're not going to those meets yet. They're not ready for her. They're just not committed. It's more for recreation and physical education. If you get enough of those, they're going to have to listen. That, or they're going to end up firing people up there because they're not going to be afford to pay them.
The sacred cow is registration. The registration is everything.
Yep.
In 2000, was it 22, 23, we switched to the SWIMS 3.0 database.
Wait a minute. And I asked them, I said, guys, because when I got wind of it, I'd already had all my registration stuff planned. I'd already paid $3,000 getting everything out. I had to change everything. I said, guys, don't do this at the last second. Every big club out there is exactly in this situation I'm in. Do this instead. Do the swims, give it to a big club, a medium club, a small club. Let's work through the problems and make sure that it's going to be a workable and everything's fine. It was a disaster. They went, we're doing it. We're going to shove it down your throat and you're going to like it. Again, it didn't matter to them. It didn't affect their salary at all. It affected my salary because I lost athletes because they got so frustrated with it. They went, we're going to go do soccer. This is a pain in the neck. I'm not doing it. So again, you're not really hitting where it hurts. If I have a great year financially, I do good. If I have a bad year for whatever reason, I have a swim school manager that was awful at one of my sites. I have a coach that was running a bunch of people off at one of my sites. And so financially, I didn't have a very good year that year. I tell you what, I learned my lesson pretty quick because it hits me right at home. Those guys have no incentive.
I floated the idea that we've overpaid executives at USA Swimming and that we needed to lower the cost basis for the salary to far lower. My idea was 1/3 of what we're paying and make everything in bonuses and make it shared bonuses because that's the way we do it in the private sector. And no one responded to me. I shared that with the board of directors. No one said a word about that one thought.
Let me tell you how we pay them at SwimAtlanta. Okay. You're paid by the numbers. So if you go out and I thought for a long time ago, why should it just be Chris Davis that benefits if we get our numbers way up? And also, why should it be Chris Davis that just takes a hit if I've got people running kids out of the sport? So I've got it set up where I know what the numbers are at a site. I know what the site could max at, depending on our programming, if we're creative enough. So they're paid by the head. If the numbers go up, they make a lot more money. If they don't pay attention and the numbers go down, they make less money. So they're more likely, if Johnny misses 4 or 5 days because he's sick, to back then you had to call. But now I guess you could send a text or an email or call and say, oh my gosh, we've really missed Johnny. Where has he been? Oh my gosh, that's so wonderful that you're calling, but he's sick right now, but he'll be back Monday. that means more to that parent that you cared enough to make that call than anything else you can do. And you're more likely to keep that kid around for a long time. So I'm with you. I agree 1,000% on that.
Are you aware of the breakdown of clubs that are privately held versus nonprofit versus hybrid? Are you aware of those numbers?
No, I don't know the numbers per se. I will tell you, because we used to get it thrown at us all the time when we were recruiting. SwimAtlanta is a full profit organization. We're a non-profit organization, which means we are here for the kids. They're there just for the money. You know, the only difference is the board of directors doesn't take a salary. That nonprofit organization could pay their head coach $1 million a year and it's good to go. Just means the board of directors don't take a salary. That's the only difference. Well, and somebody can make a contribution to it. It's a 501c3 and deduct it off their taxes.
If you're a private company, you can also roll off a nonprofit to raise money as well.
I've had one since 1984.
There you go. You got your nonprofit. Just for anybody listening and they're curious out there and they'd like to know what the breakdown is, we're about 2,700 clubs. 577 are privately held. 813 are a hybrid version, meaning that maybe it's a nonprofit swimming team, but the club owns the pool and the dirt, and the nonprofit rents from the pool, and maybe they have a private lessons program. And then the rest are nonprofit. If you talk to USA Swimming and you ask them what works in each market, they will say they have success across. They have success in the for-profit world. They have success in the hybrid world, and they have success in the nonprofit world. It often comes down to how well it's managed. But I would like to have a deeper dive to know if the for-profit clubs were successful at a higher percentage.
I would think so, but I don't know that. I know the people that have taken the SwimAtlanta model, and I have people ask me all the time about it, and I'm willing to share 100% of what I do. But teams like Nitro, MSA, Metroplex, Brent Mitchell out there, they took our model. All of them also worked for me at one time, or worked with me. And they took the model, took it to an area that had a lot of kids, and they've been hugely successful. Peter Pereira's at MSA has 1,200 kids. I'm not 100% sure. I think 1,200 for Brent. And Mike Culliver, do you have any idea?
Hang on a second. We had Mike on and talked to Mike we talked to him for a little over an hour, and that podcast is going to come out here pretty soon.
Right.
He's at over 2,000.
Is he?
2,000 swimmers. And, but at 2,000 swimmers, he says this is good for the Austin market. And he really loves his lessons program.
Yes. We had over 2,000 at one time. We have found in the Atlanta market that anybody that can get pool time starting a team. And I tell people this all the time. When I started SwimAtlanta, I think people's most three prized commodities were their child, their money, then their time. Today, it's their child, their time, then their money. So if I have to drive past X to get to this other program that might be better, my kid's just okay, and I can drive 8 minutes or I can drive 15, they're going to drive 8.
It makes sense. So let's play a game. The universe has come down to Atlanta, Georgia, and said, Chris Davis, you are now the god of swimming. You're the god of swimming. You are all powerful. How would you use your power as the god of swimming for club swimming? What would you do?
Again, I think I would do my best to figure out what the customer wanted, try to carve out what they wanted, but still understanding that they really don't know what they want. They think they know what they want, but they're not 100% sure. So, I hope the amount of years I've done it makes me the expert, but then it's my job as a salesman to say your child has this much potential. And if they'll do this, they can get better. The other thing I would do is, right now our LSC is doing so many stupid things. I would get rid of it in a New York second. We've got 4-day championship meets now, 14 and under and senior, 4 days, so that we can do every event known to mankind. That means I just added a day or two to the parents, another $300 to $500 out of their pocketbook to go watch their kids swim, go sit around, go back at night, watch them go to 2 or 3 hours. We're killing the sport. Today, if I had a choice of putting kids in swimming or soccer, and I'm as busy as I am, I'd go for soccer. I can go watch my kid run up and down the field for an hour and I'm done. 4 full days. We've got mixed 200 medley relays, mixed 200 free relays, 400 free, 400 medley medal, and 800 free. And we're carrying that all the way down to the 14 and unders. They've got the 50s, the 100s, the 200s, the 800 in the mile. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe the 12 and unders have that. That's insanity. It's crazy. We're just driving people out of the sport, I think.
If you talk to someone at USA Swimming, they'll say, hey, but wait a minute. We have a solution for this, and it's called block party.
Well, not at the upper level. They don't. If you get to be that upper level kid, and I've made a state cut, and I get to go to state, well, it's a punishment. We used to say, we used to kid with the coaches, summers got so long. If you did a great job and you had kids make senior nationals and then junior nationals, well, you were out in Irvine for 2 weeks. Well, that was a punishment. You did a great job coaching. Now you got to be out there at swim meets for 2 weeks. That's insanity, I think. And especially today, the way that people feel about their time. So I would cut a lot of that stuff out. I think a 2.5 day, 3 max is more than enough. Our age group committee and senior committee think that this is the way to go. They're wrong. They're about to hear from me that if they continue in that direction, SwimAtlanta will not be going to those championship meets anymore. We'll find something else to do.
If you could present to the board, that's a great question. As the USA Swimming Board said, hey, would you come and have a conversation with us? Does that ever happen?
No, I did when nationals were at Georgia Tech. Tim Anchi had just gotten a job. He said, I guess I was a little outspoken then, and I'm not an outspoken guy. I just pay attention to SwimAtlanta, try to do what I think is best for our program. But it seemed like maybe at my old age, I've gotten a little more outspoken. So I said, sure, Tim, I'm glad to sit with you. And we were talking, and he said, give me an example. I said, okay, you want an example? Here it is. I just got back from nationals at Stanford. Oh, yeah, I was there. Okay, here's what you guys did. I'm the driver of the bus. I'm bringing all the kids to the program. And yet you made me park way away from the venue in this dusty filled road, which is okay with me. I love to walk. And yet when I was walking and get closer to the pool, I found all these reserved parking spots for USA Swimming, not officials, but USA Swimming salaried employees that really weren't having anything to do with the meet. I said, do you see anything wrong with that? And he really didn't. I said, let me tell you, there is no way I would let an employee of mine take the greatest parking spots going into my facilities. Our employees park as far away as they can so that our customers have the best spots. It fell on deaf ears. So that's what I mean when I say I don't think they get it. I think they would still argue, no, we should be able to park there. You guys need to park way over here. When I take a bus to Wendy's, does the bus driver ever pay for that meal? No. Wendy's comps the meal. We're so happy you brought these people here. They know how to treat customers. USA Swimming does not. And I don't know that they have the wherewithal to ever figure it out.
Do you think AAU could grow to entirely support the competitive pipeline in the United States?
Yes, but I may actually talk to you off air on some of this because I've got some ideas. But I think they're going to have to get into the championship realm and not just an AAU double B C level championship meet. I think we're going to have to, if they want to move in that direction, I have no idea if they do. If they do, then I think we're going to have a real AAU meet where you have real athletes, you have real fast swimming, you have all the officials there. And then all of a sudden, I think it's valid that, AAU is valid. Look, so-and-so went, they swam great. It was an awesome meet. Yes, I don't know that they want it, but if they do, I 100% believe it could happen.
My understanding is that if registration is high enough, then the registration's got to be high enough for it to make sense for their investment in time. Because right now it's just a value proposition. Right. That's a better than what is existing out there. But I don't know what that threshold is. I don't know if it's 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 swimmers.
I don't know how many they have. Do you? Have you seen that?
They hold their numbers close. I'll tell you this. We know that in the year the USA Swimming was down 4.6%. AAU was up. AAU rolled up most of those swimmers. So that was a flat year for swimming as a whole. Right. But AAU picked up the 4.6% that USA Swimming lost.
That was MSA, us, and probably Metroplex.
Correct. That way, and largely it was from the godfather of swimming's southeastern cabal of clubs that decided, hey, we're going to make a statement here. And then we were flat in 2024, but AAU was up 100% from what they had signed. So, but they were, and they anticipate more growth this year. But I think that people are sort of waiting to see, hey, maybe USA Swimming rights the ship, or there's new leadership. I think the trend to AAU is moving forward, that it's not as rapid as that first year.
I would agree. I think when Henchy got let go, everybody went, oh, okay, let's just wait around and see. Hopefully they'll get a great CEO and they'll right the ship and everybody will be happy. But you and I have seen almost a year go by, and according to you, a heck of a lot of money spent and nothing. Is that not incompetency?
I don't forgive that, and I'll tell you why. And you know, you're Chris Davis. I want to know what you think about it. My opinion is we didn't need a chief executive to market our sport. We did need a chief executive for our staff and leadership in Colorado Springs to reach out to you and say, hey, what can I do in your marketplace to service you so that I can increase your registration there? Okay, what is that? Maybe you have 5 different things that you can do. Maybe they can only do one. Well, hell, let's do that one thing this year. Those were easy. That's easy to do. We didn't do that. And waiting around and twiddling our thumbs saying a CEO is going to be our savior is
no.
Yeah, it's not.
We learned that lesson the hard way at PMG. We end up having our kind of CEO guy die on a treadmill, young guy, an Olympic swimmer for Great Britain. And we replaced him with a corporate kind of guy, a guy that had never been in a pump room, a guy that didn't know liquid bleach from granular, from tablets to cyanuric acid, muriatic acid, didn't know anything. All he knew was the bottom line. And then when he would go out and visit one of the 18 cities, he would just be on their ass about bottom line profit. We went to a convention, pool management convention that we had every year at the time down at one of the islands. And we almost lost the entire business. We had no idea that people were so angry, so upset. We actually end up having to fire the guy on the spot and try to resurrect the program. So we learned then that you got to have somebody that can talk turkey. You got to got somebody that goes, I got to do a sand change and a filter. Oh yeah, I've done that. You probably have a broken lateral. Let's figure that out. But to just go corporate CEO, kind of like they did a little bit with Tim Henchey, I don't think it'll work with coaches.
I don't think so either. For anybody out there listening, some of you might not be old enough to remember or know. Some of you might not know, even if you've been around for decades. Chris Davis had Pool Management Corporation, which was the biggest pool management corporation in America. No, there were bigger ones.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there are.
Well, I'm maybe I'm puffing it in my head because my club coach Jeff was a part of your team.
He absolutely was. I'm the one that talked him into it. He probably cusses me daily for getting him into it.
I think there was a moment in time. So Jeff Gackel was coaching at MAC before they were Swim MAC in Charlotte. And he was a tough coach, and he was the young, cool coach, and he had the most challenging sets, and his legend was growing, and he wasn't making any money, and life was tough. And at a certain point, he went the corporate route, which was your company. And then I saw him years later, and his house was in a different neighborhood, Chris.
Oh yeah,
he did really well. I know. I've been to his house, and I walked in the door. I was like, Jeff, life's been good. He goes, I worked for it.
He's not lying to you. I guarantee you, only because I was there at part of it, not as much as them, but it was not unusual to put in 100-hour week during the spring when you're getting all the pools open, you're getting all the pool covers off, you're getting all the lawn furniture out. You're doing all the renovation for the tile that had fallen off during the winter. It was not unusual to put in multiple back-to-back 100-hour weeks. And Jeff's a worker. That guy's still a worker.
Jeff's a grinder. His wife explained to me that he was gone for 2 years.
And I don't think she's lying.
No. He worked nonstop. It's another part of the Godfather circle of Chris Davis. If you're trying to go down the rabbit hole of Chris Davis and his tentacles into swimming, Chris, I don't know where do we go from here? What are next steps? How do we have hope in this sport? We're in a domestic Olympic run-up where we've eaten up a year, and my better judgment tells me that Team USA is always going to do well. That swimming is going to rebound, but I'm very concerned about flat registration in an Olympic year. That scares me to death.
I agree completely on that. I guess it depends on who they think the savior is. You and I have had discussions. We feel great about a guy named Mike Unger. They haven't felt good about the guy. I think he could have instantly come in, righted the ship. Every coach in the country knows and respects him. I think every employee at USA Swimming knows and respects him. Tremendously hard worker, great with people, can talk turkey about a set in for a coach in swimming. If he's on the deck, he's like a magnet. People want to talk to him. There must have been something I didn't know because I thought he was a very obvious choice.
I can't share everything that I know, but I can share that it is my opinion based on the information that I've gotten back that the board of directors is dead set from United States Swimming on hiring someone from outside of our marketplace. They've looked inside and went, meh, I don't know. They're looking for talent that outside of swimming. I think that anyone who is coming from outside of the sport, we're going to end up paying them nearly $1 million a year so that for the first 3 years so they can learn the culture. Which
exactly like we did.
Yes, we're going to overpay somebody to learn what swimming is because it's so unique. And so it's just a very unique niche. And that infuriates me personally.
Yeah, let me throw in here real quick on the pool management part of it. The guy that started SwimAtlanta with me, Jim Fraser, got tired of coaching. And then we had tried for 3 or 4 years to get somebody interested in doing a pool management idea with us. Couldn't find anyone. He had an exceptionally bad senior nationals. I can't remember which. And on the airplane ride home, he said, what do you think about me running the pool management part of it since we can't find anyone? And I'm tired of coaching kids that don't care. Sure, let's do it. We hired a coach at junior nationals, a guy named Bill Behrens. And then Jim started the pool management side of it with whatever help I could do because I was running the team side of it. And we had 3 sites then, I think. So we started like idiots. We lost money because we didn't know what the heck we were doing. We hired a guy named Bill Behrens, who I felt like was one of the greatest coaches ever. And then Jim and I lived on my salary because we were losing money on the pool management side of what we were doing. I still remember I got a letter home from the elementary school. My kids were in kindergarten and first grade, I think, or pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, whatever. We got a letter home saying my kids qualified for free lunches because we were making such little money. I was so angry, so upset that we were working that hard and not making it. But obviously it turned out well. And obviously with mostly Jeff and Jim, the pool management side of what we did has been amazing.
I like entrepreneurs in swimming. I just think it goes with our work ethic. And there's a lot of really talented people from our sport. They came through the funnel at SwimAtlanta.
We've had a few.
You've had quite a few. All right. I don't think we covered everything, but we've been talking now for about an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to get you out of here so you can have a break. And what are you doing? You're sorry?
I'm available anytime unless you got nobody that wants to listen to me.
We're going to listen to you. There's some topics that I wanted to cover, and I'm sure I'll figure them out after I listen to this podcast again.
Okay.
But, do you have any parting thoughts, any wisdom? What would you say to a young club coach starting today that wants to be successful, have a family, and put food on the table and build some retirement and some security in life?
Don't be afraid to outwork your mistakes. Don't be afraid to outwork everybody else in the industry. I don't know, and of course the same thing with swimming. You know, you have to outwork people. You have to train people. What's wonderful about our sport, you cannot be the most talented guy in the world, but if you're willing to outwork everybody, you can be pretty good. And so I think the same thing if you're going to be a head coach. If all you want to do is coach the best kids, you want to come in and coach 3 mornings a week, go back and then go 4:30 to 6:30, and you're out of there, you're never going to really make it, not big time. I know there's been many people that have said, yeah, I want to do a SwimAtlanta. And then I tell them what's entailed and the amount of hours that it would probably take to make it be successful. And they all, I got to work that hard. Nah, I'm not interested. So when my first child was born, he was born at like 2:30 in the morning. And I said to my wife, I've got a 4:30 practice. I'll be back. Today, I would probably be put in jail if I did that. Well, my wife would leave me if I did that, but I don't know that you have people that would be willing to do that. Skip Foster, I think, was at a meet and he wouldn't leave the meet with the kids. And I think he missed the birth of one of his children because he felt such a responsibility to the kids that he was coaching. So I think you better have a heck of a work ethic. I think you gotta be proud of the fact that you can outwork anybody. And I think you have to be willing to outwork your mistakes because we're all going to make them.